Good afternoon, sports fans from all around the globe. I am your host, Jeff Dawson, East Coast Sports Investors, and this is your midday market report for February 9th, 2022, as we get another day closer to the NFL Super Bowl. Today, of course, it's Wednesday. It's 1 o'clock. It's where ECSI gets to cross the border and talk with one of our favorite guests of the week. Talk some, obviously, NFL Super Bowl props. I want to get his take on how the Olympics are going. Stayed up late the other night for the pre-gold medal everyone thinks about, the Canada and U.S. women's hockey. Talk some NHL as the NHL came back this week. ECSI 1-0 with Vegas last night, 4-0 winner against Edmonton. Left the Devils on the desk. I'll talk to him about that. I didn't want to, there's a nice reverse line movement on the Devils playing back-to-back against the Canadiens, which we've talked about at length here, their struggles this year. But without further ado, let's cross that border. Let's bring in the one, the only, Mr. Andrew McInnis.
Jeffrey, how are you?
I'm doing well. How about yourself?
It's great to be here. Nice to be inside, not freezing outside. Look, not a bad day to be a sports fan. A pretty bad day to be a Montreal Canadiens fan. Congratulations on that 1-0 night with the Golden Knights. Unfortunately, I ended up staying off that one. That's the side I leaned on. So I wish I got there with you. And I got to give you credit. I love that. You dropped that the graphic on me today. I didn't even see it until today. Awesome stuff, man. It looks cool.
Well, it was delivered early this morning, so I was going to forward it to you. I says, I'm going to surprise him and pop that out there. He did an amazing job. He's got you sporting your Habs jersey. You're always going to have it. That's where,
of course,
through good, bad, ugly. I mean, it is what it is. We talked here a couple of weeks ago about the return of Tuukka and how he was going to, rejuvenate the Bruins. And he had a couple good games. He had some clunkers, then the back. And then yesterday came out that the return of Tuukka was going to be short-lived, and he's about to wave the white flag.
Unbelievable. I guess I should say it is believable because we talked about it, but I didn't think it was going to be this quick. There's definitely a problem with the Bruins on the back end. There's no problem with Pasternak scoring or Marchand getting up to his old tricks. There's a problem with the blue line and the problem with goaltending for them right now. So as far as for my Montreal Canadiens, there's a problem everywhere as far as that team goes. But yeah. Do you think that that's just negatively impacted the team, not even just on the goaltenders, but everywhere?
What was that again?
Do you think that Tuukka Rask coming back has not just negatively impacted the goaltending situation, but hurt everybody else in the situation, like the forwards and the coaching staff? Do you think it's just been a mess for them?
It's been a mess. Going into the season, everyone locally assumed that he was going to do exactly what he did. He was going to wait till around the first of the year, get a couple games in down in Providence, and then come and, be that spark plug, be that, they got him at minimum price. It's not costing them really anything. What it did, cost them, though, was the fact that they had to, demote Swayman, the potential replacement for Tuukka full time, even though they paid Ullmark. I think his thought process was, hey, listen, I owe it to these guys. I bailed out on them in the bubble. I have been the scapegoat for many, many playoff series and cup runs that it's always come back on me, which, listen, that's just the fans talking. We know that their blue line, their defense is just bad. I mean, they had a Chara for a few years, then it was the decline of Chara. Then Charlie McAvoy was supposed to be the savior. And the problem is they don't have a second or third line for defensemen. And if you
Yeah.
don't have an anchor back there that can stop 40 out of 41 shots while your offense is only scoring 2 and 3 goals, it's going to be a long night. And the Bruins, maybe Swayman will come back with a vengeance. Maybe that will be the rejuvenating factor that sparks this team, because they're just floundering, and I don't have high expectations at all.
Well, I had the Penguins last night, and I was scratching my head at the price there for the Bees at home. And you know, you've taught me a lot about market movement, and we talk about these odds quite a bit together when you pull up the Wager Talk live odds. And I gotta ask, I mean, why do you think that number was what it was yesterday, Jeff? I mean, was it just based on Pittsburgh's slump before the All-Star break, or what was built into that price being on the road? I was quite shocked at that underdog position for the Penguins, and I believe money actually kept coming in on the Bruins.
It's you got it. The funny thing, again, you want to think Bruins Garden, you want to think home ice advantage, and coming off the break, you're saying, okay, it's a new start. Let's start this, the second half off with a vengeance. Pittsburgh of the world, the Capitals of the world, they have too much speed. They have too much firepower for the Bruins. And I think how we're wired, Andrew, is the fact that we look towards the home ice instead of really looking at where the true value is. Anytime you can catch a Penguins team at a plus 120, 125, you're right. That number kept leaking, 127, 128, 130. So now your mind starts to say, okay, well, I think the public will be on the Penguins, but I think the sharper side is the Bruins here, and you get caught with your pants down.
Yeah, that's the way I've been feeling a lot with these teams lately. Is that, hey, you give me this team at a plus price, I'm not going to get that too often. I'll play it, and it's about not putting yourself at risk. But the funny thing is, and I wanted to talk about on today's show with you, is to me the team total argument versus other things. And I've been looking at team totals quite a bit. As I've told you, I've had horrible luck, Jeff, with puck lines. And I read that stat last week on the show with you about how successful favorites have been overall. And if we're ever on the same puck line, hedge out because it does not go well for me. Yesterday, Capitals, perfect example. So their puck line is around plus 100, minus 105. Team total sits at 3.5. They lose that game in overtime, but we cash that team total. And I'm not just saying that because it's a perfect example. I'm saying that so many times people will not want to look at the team total because you're getting a way worse price. But what I love about these team totals is that you get to take away, you get to take away the opposition, and sometimes with favorites, I think that's got to be the new norm. We talked about it with baseball as well, looking at team totals, just completely eliminating what the other team will do. And once you get over that threshold of the 4.5 runs or 5.5 runs, whatever it might be for which team it is you're talking about. And that's the thing about that Boston and Pittsburgh game. I mean, in general, obviously I wouldn't have laid that price with the Bees. I would have looked towards a different way of playing them. So that way, if the Bruins did, lose that game, maybe take their team total, something like that. But I've become more of a chalky better as far as the team totals go, and trying to avoid playing these hefty favorites on the money line or puck line.
And you're bringing up so many strong points that most people don't do. I talk about peeling that layer back, and how many layers are you going to actually peel back? How much work are you actually going to do into just one game? Vegas gives you an opening line, and that's the story. They're telling you a story. It's our job to come up with the happy ending and to cash that ticket. So when you go with the Bruins minus the 128, 132, whatever it was last night, or the Penguins plus the 110, 115, you look at the over under, which I think was 5.5, maybe juiced under or over. I'm not even sure there. And then what you do is you look at the first period lines, Bruins minus a half plus 180. Well, they're telling you most likely it's going to be tied or they're not going to be winning the first period. You go to the team totals. Okay. If you liked the Bruins last night, for instance, and then let's just say you didn't want to lay the 130. Well, do you want to lay the over 2.5? Minus 145 or 150? When we talk about team game totals of 5.5, they're telling you, okay, it's going to probably be 3-2. And do you get the empty netter? When we talk about the big favorites, all right, I'm not going to lay minus 200. Okay, so what's the team total? Well, the game total, if it's 6 or 6.5, I will go to the puck line thinking that, okay, I'm not going to lay minus 200. Okay, but if they're going to give me plus 125 on the puck line and the under over in the game is 6 or 6.5, then I go to the team totals. Okay, the team total for the Wild last night, let's just say, was 3 plus 100. And their opponent was 2.5 juiced minus 150 under. Well, they're telling you the Wild most likely is going to have to get to 4 there, because the other side's going to be stuck on 2. So there's so many layers, Andrew, to pull from. 95% of the people don't do it.
No, I don't think so either. And that's a good point you mentioned about the Wild and the Jets game, because it's what the market is telling you they predict to happen. And I'll never forget. I know I apologize. I always bring it up, but when you and I first worked together doing CFL, and you were like, look, this is the score they're telling us is going to be. The money's coming in, and this team's going to. And I'm pretty sure just you went like 3-0 just on the, following the sharp money. And sometimes you can use what the odds makers are telling us. And that's why I almost like the time that we work together, 2:00 Eastern on Wednesdays, because you get some time for it to settle in. If we were doing 9 a.m.s or 8 a.m.s, there'd be a little bit less time for public reaction and that kind of stuff to come in with these spots. And but I will say, I want to ask you, with the ECSI crew, do you guys give out much overnight stuff? I mean, for me, it's very rare, and if it is, it's a strong play. But lately, with the COVID, with injuries, with everything, I just haven't really been given much overnight.
I'll tell you this, our buddy Dave Sharapan, he pulls out that garbage can with the CLV on it, and all the so-called professionals or the experts that do the overnight stuff, it's to get the closing line value. It's to get the EV. So for instance, if last night, we'll bring up the Bruins again, if you got an overnight number of them minus 118, well, you were pounding your chest, because I think they closed at minus 132. So you're happy with that minus 118 because everyone else is paying 25, 30, 32 cents. It happens in football so much, like Circa. I always talk about Circa. While we're getting ready for opening kickoff on Sundays, they've released the college games for the following Saturday, and they allow their so-called sharps to dictate the market. They have up to $2,000 per play, and they get these immediately, and they just go in and they're diving. They're just trying to say, okay, if you're going to give me Notre Dame -4 and I have them at -8, I'm going to take Notre Dame -4 on Sunday night, Sunday afternoon. And by the time it kicks off on Saturday, it's been picked through 500,000 times, and the closing line is 8. Okay, well, this guy's got his chest out like this because he's got a list this long of all those games he beat the closing line and has the EV. Well, when Notre Dame wins by 3, it's garbage. It doesn't matter.
Yes.
So what you're talking about with COVID, with the overnight, listen, if you have inside information, let's just say that McDavid and someone else is going to be out and you got it overnight, you might want to pounce on that, because by the time the line gets out in the morning and you get the up McDavid, that line's going to be really fluctuating.
Yeah.
In the NBA, how many times do you see people run into the window because LeBron was scratched? These numbers are already embedded. They already lean one way or the other there.
You hear Kelly Stewart talk about that all the time, how it's integrated into the line. And people are like, this guy's out. Everybody bet this team. It's like, yeah, it's why they're minus 12.5 and not 8. You mentioned the overnight stuff. I used that with the Senators, the first game back. Sunday night, I gave out the Senators over the Devils with Jack Hughes. The second that I saw a tweet pop up on my screen, Jack Hughes is out, I ran to the window as fast as I could and took the Senators. And it's funny because I always say that in hockey, one player doesn't make a team. But when you're a middle of the pack team or below average, like the Devils are to me, one player, especially like Jack Hughes, does impact. Obviously, he was at the All-Star game. He does impact that team. And, you see sometimes people releasing overnight plays, like you said, for the CLV, for the hype up of their pick and all that stuff. The fact of the matter is, a lot of times people do that expecting to see one guy in net, and the next day they wake up and it's the backup, and it makes them look foolish because they could have got a better number, or they don't like the pick as much anymore, and you got to stand behind it, and all that stuff matters. And for certain teams, especially even when we're talking about the Bruins, that to me would be super important, knowing who's in net for a lot of teams. Yesterday, looking at a lot of different games and looking at the Edmonton Oilers as well. Between Koskinen, Smith, and Skinner, you need to know who's in there. And we'll talk about the Oilers today because Skinner actually has the best goals against average save percentage for the Oilers this year. And we know how many games he's played for them, and somehow they continue to try and push him back down. But there is a goaltending problem in Edmonton, that's for sure.
I had yesterday afternoon on Sean King from VSiN, and his other name he goes by is Puckstradamus, and he's really into the NHL, and he doesn't give out any picks until he gets the update on who's the starting goalies. And on the show, and then after the show, he goes, I'm really leaning Minnesota. And about a half hour after the show, he released them minus the 150. And I was looking more into, if I was to have played Minnesota, there was a lot of movement on Minnesota. I was looking at the puck line because I'm not going to play 150, 155, something like that. And it was like plus 166, and the movement wasn't right. And I'm glad I stayed away from the game. But those Jedi mind tricks, listen, I'm not going to play 175, but if you're going to give me plus 135, I then get into that game where I'm hoping they win by the puck line because I'm getting plus money instead of minus money. But on the other side of my left shoulder, I have you there saying, well, Jeff, you can get them in regulation at, plus 110. So now I'm one of those, what do? I'm damned if I do. I'm damned if I don't.
100%. And that's what I love about hockey betting is that, number one, there's so many different ways to do it. Number two, the show that I always do after this show with you every day, our Ice Guys show, you can find on YouTube as well. Sometimes there's four of us on the show. And it's kind of funny because if I'm the last person in the order, you got three other guys that have broken down a game. They've said all the million different ways you could bet it on this team, that team total, this side, puck line, and all of a sudden you're last and you're like, well, what do I say now? These guys covered everything. These guys have given out their puck lines, and it's even worse if somebody likes a pick right before you so much, and you're on the other side, and you have to explain why you disagree with somebody, pretty much directly after them. So there's so many different ways, and then you kind of got to pick your poison, like you said, with are you going to do regulation? Are you going to do money line? So lately, I will say this: I've never been like a high juice guy, but it's been all about picking my spots more than just staying away from a high price. Like yesterday, even though it came super close, I would have taken the minus 140 Washington Capitals team total. I'd do it again, and there's going to be team total spots where I'm going to risk more, but I'm going to not have to worry about what the opposition does, and I'll happily take that.
And hats off there. Again, I think that team total, that over under was 6.5, if I'm not mistaken. So you didn't have to worry about getting to overtime. The fact of the matter is you got there, and you're looking at it, and okay, well, they're saying it's going to be 4-3 unless it's 5-2 one way or the other. And the fact of the matter is, I don't have to worry. I just need them to get to 3. The minus 140. You're saying yourself that's okay, but again, that's that weighing factor. Okay, do I really like them to win the game, or do I think they got a better shot at getting that 3?
Yeah.
And hats off that the more work you do and you start peeling those layers back, the more satisfying and gratifying it is, because you woke up this morning and said, man, I hit that team total. Okay. If I played them to win the game, I lost.
I'm not going to lie. After that game went to overtime, I was hoping they'd lose. I was cheering for it. I was cheering for them to lose. Screw them. I don't need them anymore.
I do that so often. I'm on the hanging off my chair, and once it cashes, I could give a rat's ass about the game.
Yeah. Like if I have a total and the total hits like over 5.5 or whatever, I'm cheering for the dog right away.
We'll just touch this quickly. I mean, I wanted you to your thoughts on the Olympics right now, the hockey specifically, obviously. The U.S. women's take, they lose one of their best players in the first game. They're chugging along, and then same with Canada. I stayed up for the first 2 periods, and the second period was phenomenal. The U.S. comes storming back to get the lead. Like, oh, wow. I'm like, okay, well, maybe don't celebrate too quick, because you're going to probably face these guys in the gold medal game. And then, boom, in comes Canada again. Bing, bang, boom. And moving forward, have you been successful? Have you been staying away? Or what do you see moving forward in the women's bracket?
Yeah, I'll be honest, Jeff. Maybe it was because there was not much NHL the past little while, but I have been more active with that than I thought I would. In that USA versus Canada game, I was able to get over 4.5 at minus $1.20, which I thought was really good. They expected a battle, 2 teams that are familiar to, it's a rivalry, obviously, the 2 countries, but there's going to be goals. And the funny thing is, and I don't have an answer for this. I honestly don't. But I just have a feeling that we're seeing more goals in the ladies division than we are with the men's. And right now, with the rink size, it's funny because some of the players are used to a bigger international size, and some of them aren't. And what a lot of people don't know is that some of the rinks they're playing in aren't actually the international ice size. Excuse me. So it's definitely a difference, because if you grew up playing hockey in Switzerland, you're used to a way bigger rink than you are if you grew up playing in Michigan. And it's a huge difference for these teams. And we're seeing, breakaways, 2-on-1s, odd man rushes, turnovers in the neutral zone, which are leading to goals. I will say, though, I was shocked at some of the numbers we were seeing for Canada and USA. Lower than I thought they would be, Jeff, with some of these 4.5s, minus 5.5s. We haven't even gotten up to a touchdown, or we never even got there with these teams as far as the goal lines and the spreads, or the puck line, excuse me. So I started off with taking the favorites, taking some of these teams. I did bet on China and a couple of other teams, but I'll be real with you. I've mainly been in action with the USA games in Canada, and it's either been taking the favorite or taking the over. And a lot of the times those two have just coincided. So as far as the men's, I had Russia minus 1.5 early this morning. Game finishes 1-0. I was not awake for the game. Unfortunately, I actually think I was awake for like the first 10 minutes. It was a late night last night, but when I woke up and saw 1-0 after it was 1-0 in the first period, that was rough to see. But I do want to say that we talked about it on this show together. Russia was plus 450 right before the NHL announced. And although they didn't impress me that much last night, they came out with the win, and they've got the top scorer in the KHL. They've got Nikita Gusev, so many guys, great, leadership core over there. Even at the value you can get right now with them, you can bet it. And I think a good example of that is that you and I talked last June, May, maybe, about the CFL. Who were the top two teams ranked in their divisions? It was Hamilton and Winnipeg. Winnipeg was like plus 150 to win the whole Grey Cup last year, and they won. So sometimes, taking the favorite and the team that's expected to do well isn't a bad thing. And I always I was making that CLV joke last night on the radio. I quoted Dave Sherapan for the MVP of the Super Bowl. Go ahead and take Aaron Donald at 14-1 and flash around your plus money price. But when it doesn't cash, it won't look so cool anymore. And that's kind of how I feel about the men's international ice hockey right now at the Olympics. The top three teams, one of them will win.
It's so funny too, because the guy that's holding, the winning MVP, he doesn't tell you he's got 9 losing MVPs in his other pocket, and it just happens to us in our lanes, and it's quite comical. I bring up the Super Bowl story 2 years ago. We were off by 1 point, and the guy nailed it, and he showed his ticket. I think he had $300 on the exact score. It paid him like $24,000. And
wow.
Everyone on Twitter is going crazy. Oh my God. And I just pulled him aside. I was like, congratulations. I was like, amazing hit. Hats off. I says, if you don't mind, can you please tell me how many other swings you took? And he goes, Jeff, to be 100% honest with you, I lost money on this proposition. So,
no way.
Yeah. And that's what happens.
Well, how could he, if he $300 on, wow. So he must have put a bunch of money on some other ones.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And the fact that it's like anything else, when I try to talk about college basketball, who wins the whole thing? There's only one winner. The rest are losers. So I try to, throughout the year, try to get some good value futures where I think teams can get there to get me to the Final Four. And then I have some hedge opportunities. It's the same thing if you're trying to handicap golf. There's 152 golfers. There's only one winner. That's it. And any of these big tournaments, the NFL, the Super Bowl, if you started in August and September, we had 49er futures to win the NFC, to win the Super Bowl. We later on got in on the Chiefs plus 400. And our last future was the Rams plus 215. That's what I'm holding right now. That's the only play that I have. Now, everyone else is on the Bengals. Do I think they can win? Yeah, sure I do. But am I going to go, and you can get cute, take the Bengals plus 4.5 and hope that the Rams win by 4 or less? There's a lot of plays. Or I can just sit back, and if the Rams win, I'm getting just over 2-1 and I'm happy.
You know what I think you should do? Not that you asked me. I think take Joe Burrow to win the MVP. And that way you're sitting on pretty much 2 tickets that are almost the exact same price. And you enjoy your beverages and Super Bowl snacks, and you're going to make some money that day. I think that if the Bengals win, it's undoubtedly going to be Joe Burrow as the MVP. And the money line is like plus 180 and plus 190. And I think you can get Joe Burrow to win the MVP at like plus 260, something like that. Let's see. Or plus 230. Would you agree with me on that? If they win the Super Bowl, who else is winning the MVP?
Well, the only way I would foresee is obviously if Chase was 9 for 220 and 3 or something, but he's going to have Ramsey there. The sneaky one that everyone's on, I mean, McPherson has kicked 12 field goals in the playoffs. Okay. And here's the funny thing. He's like plus 1,500 or whatever, some stupid number to win the MVP. But if you dig deep into the props, and Brad Howe had Dave Sherapan on this week, the McPherson made field goals is over 1.5 field goals, minus 115. So they're telling you right there, he's not even going to kick 2 field goals. So how's he going to be the MVP? So I agree what you're saying. I really do. Speaking of Super Bowl, speaking of props, I have the Westgate in front of me. There's 458 of them. Obviously we don't have time to go through all of them, but what I would like to do is why we have you on here is just have you talk some of the props that you like, some of the ones that you're seeing, some of the ones that have caught your eye. Maybe you've played, haven't played, or you just haven't decided.
Well, one I really like, Jeff, and this is, I liked it in general, but when I saw the price when I first looked at it, it kind of caught me off guard. And that's the will there be a defense or special teams touchdown? You can get that at some pretty good prices. The range I've seen is like plus 240 to plus 265, something like that. With will there be, and even more particular, I think you could take a look at will the Bengals get a defensive touchdown? That's in the plus 500 ballpark. Because, ironically, I actually trust the more inexperienced guy with Joey B to take care of the football than I do with Matt Stafford, as he takes a lot of shots and gambles downfield and stuff. Obviously, you can bet pick sixes as well, but I love the fact that with this you can get pick sixes and the fumbles. It applies for both, and special teams and returns and all that good stuff. But yeah, at plus 260, that was one that I really liked. You mentioned Evan Money McPherson. Well, the 1.5 for him and the field goals. One that I found, I'm trying to pull up here for him. I believe, it was over 7.5 points for Evan McPherson, which includes extra points and field goals. A little bit juicy on that. I think it was around minus 140, but I really did like that one. And the funny thing is, Jeff, I like the over in this game. And sharp money has poured in on the under. It seems like every single person I've talked to likes the under in this game and got in early. I like the over. I've said thank you very much. Bet that number down for me, and I'll take it and go the over. But the biggest misunderstanding to me about field goals to people is that field goals kill overs. I disagree. I don't think field goals kill overs at all. I think what kills overs is going it forward on fourth down and getting 0 points. And I think that out the gate, the Bengals are going to play smart. They're going to take the points when they can get it. I think the number is 46.5. I'm sorry. I apologize if it's on the screen there, but for 46.5 for the longest kick. I really like that one. T. Higgins, I'm looking at him again, but Joe Mixon, he's a big talk. He's a popular bet as well for his receiving yards. You can get it around 20.5, 25.5. I mean, I don't know. I think it's kind of ridiculous the price we can get on that with him. Odell Beckham Jr., he's someone I'm looking at as well. Cooper Kupp's going to get his. He's going to do his thing, but the Rams aren't going to win off just relying on a hat trick of touchdowns from Cooper Kupp. And Odell Beckham Jr., with his currently listed at 62.5, somewhere around there, I think that's a really good number for him. So those are some of the ones I like. I think McPherson plays a huge role. And I love when you and I talk about CLV together, because to me, I have definitely waited to watch all the numbers guys bet this game down, and I'm jumping in on the over. So people have kind of laughed a little bit because I've been taking these field goal props, Jeff, but I'm so high on the over. So I guess to me, field goals don't necessarily have to correlate with unders. What are your thoughts on that? Any disagreements?
No, I'm going to tell you this. Okay. In every Super Bowl, that opening number, one of those sides gets bet one way and every ticket's a loser. It just historically happens. Okay. So the guys at Westgate, they were talking, they actually had that number as low as 2.5. They weren't sure where to put it. They open it at 3 or 3.5. It gets pushed right to 4.5. Their under over was 51. Okay. They release it at 50 and a hook, and it's gone down to 48.5. Okay. I absolutely 100% love the over. I love where your head is there. I can see 30-21. I can see 28-23. I can see 28-24. My fact of the matter is, I think the Rams are going to get closer to 30 than the Bengals, maybe say 24. I think every ticket that has the under will be a loser. So if I'm going to use gauged 50.5, I'm going to go on record right now at 1:37 p.m. on Wednesday that says there's at least 51 points or more scored in the
Clip it up. Make it into a clip right now. I like it. I'm right there with you. I think that this game sees a shootout. And And those field goals all add up and all make a difference. So I'm right there with you. I think it's going to be a good one. It's going to be very competitive. I know that I'm not sure if I'll tell you this. I'm more high. I'm giving out more props to clients, so I have no problem giving out my opinion here on the show to all my stuff that I like. And I believe this game is won within a field goal. I think the Rams actually win the game, but I think the Bengals cover the spread. That's kind of my narrative right now. It's kind of the way I'm thinking about this game. But I've more so just focused in on the total, on the over in this game. But I wholeheartedly think that we're going to see a tight one here. I don't see a blowout on either side.
The one prop that I'll say on the air now, I think we talked a little bit about it last week. It just intrigues the crap out of me. And I think you're getting 12, 13, 14 to 1. I guess it's called the octopus. And what it is someone will score 8 points on one drive. So they get the touchdown and the 2-point conversion. And the guy at DraftKings, Johnny Avello was talking to the guys at VSiN yesterday, and they put it up last year, and it was like 35 to 1, and someone did get it. And it's around 14 to 1 or something. It's called the octopus. And listen, you need game flow, you need fluke. Listen, if let's just say someone's blowing someone out, right? And you get the Jamar Chase touchdown from 48 yards. They rush to the line. They set up the 2-point conversion. The 2-point conversion doesn't matter. The game's already in hand, and they just do the pylon fade to him, and he gets the 2-point conversion. So again, the odds of hitting this slim to none, but 12, 13, 14 to 1 for some beer and pizza money. I think it's a fun little prop.
I like that. I like the name of it too. That's funny. That's funny. When you said that, I just smiled for a second. I was like, that's pretty cool. That's funny. But I'm surprised by the price there. Honestly, it's a good one.
Yeah. So I can't let you leave. I know you got another show, but I can't let you leave till we talk pucks tonight. I mean, that you are Mr. Peter. I said if your name was Peter, we'd call you Peter Puck, but your name isn't Peter. So, but you are our hockey extraordinaire from across the border. And let me see if I can find where our hockey is at wagertalk.com.
It's lighting up like it's December 25th.
There we go. There's your hockey. Let me move it up a little. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 games tonight. And I will be honest with you, one just jumped off the page to me. Actually, there's 2 that have now jumped off the page to me. It'll be interesting if you're on either one of them.
I thought you were going to tell me what they were. Okay, I have to work towards it. Well, look, I'll start with this. I like the over in the Vegas and Calgary game. I think Calgary is a team that when they're at their best, they're a defensive team. They go under the Sutter way of playing and they trap the neutral zone. But I don't think that that's something they can do after the break. Their first game after the little break. They've had some confidence, recently playing some games, putting up some goals, and we'll see how they can play against a top tier team like Vegas coming off a great game like they are. And this isn't as much of a back-to-back or backup goaltender spot as it is for me just about the matchup. So I really like the over 6 tonight with the Knights and Flames. And well, we saw one team do their part last night in that Vegas game, and hats off to you for being on the right side of that one. Unfortunately, overtake 2 teams to tango, and the Oilers weren't dancing last night. I believe the Flames will be a good dance partner for the over, so I like that one. Speaking of the Oilers, I talked about back-to-backs being one of the most overrated things in hockey, I think. We've got an Oilers team 16-7 last 23 games, 0 days rest. They've played well off no rest recently. They've corrected their mistakes and done very well. We've also seen a lot of big games out of Leon and Connor on back-to-back situations like this. I've already locked in McDavid over 3.5 shots on goal. If you're not betting Evander Kane to get a point, you're missing out because, well, actually, you already have missed out pretty much because the price isn't very good anymore. But I like that quite a bit. And also, little tidbit, overs 13-3 last 16 meetings in Edmonton between these 2 teams. So those are the two I really like. Two picks for me. As far as the rest of them, I've got some leans, but I'm curious to see what you got me on the edge of my chair here for what you're talking about.
Well, the first one that really jumped out to me, and you talked about back-to-backs, and I'm not going to follow because of the back-to-back. But what intrigued me was the first one was the Islanders being favored at Vancouver. Now, I know Vancouver played last night. We've been waiting for this Islander team to try to get into overdrive here to make that push that they had last year as they got ready for the playoffs. That opening number where I did see overnight Vancouver as the favorite. I woke up this morning and saw the Islanders as the favorite. How would you break down that game? Is it more because Vancouver played last night, or in my mind, Islanders as a favorite to me is a statement?
Yeah, I think that the expectations for the Islanders have not been adjusted properly by the odds makers. I don't think. I think that if you look at what that team has done, what they've really done is beat teams they should beat. Vancouver is not the Vancouver of September and early October. Um, but one thing I'll say, and I've at first I started discussing this theory as a joke, but it's actually kind of come true. Watch how teams play if they play it back to back after beating down the Coyotes. I don't have any stats or exact numbers to give you, but teams don't always have their best first periods the day after they blow a team out like it's an all-star game. I mean, let's be honest. If you want a confidence booster, that's exactly what happened with Vancouver. Who scored for them? JT Miller, Brock Besser, Elias Pettersson. I mean, I think you and I could have laced them up last night and put one in. I mean, to me, you go into that game against an Islanders team that's just desperate to figure it out. That's why it was kind of a stay away game for me. There was too many angles on each side that I didn't love. But I think the odds makers are not giving up on the Islanders. You know, what has to happen, Jeff, for them to realize that they're not as good as we thought they were? And for the record, I'll say this. Last week on our show, I have this buy and sell segment I do. I tell people to buy on the Islanders. And I'm not trying to just get a kind of flip on my opinion, but the point being is that right now I can't trust them against anybody besides a bottom feeder.
I agree. That one was the one that caught my eye. And I will say probably in the last hour, this is the one that I will definitely be releasing tonight. Okay. Rotation number 23-24, 8 o'clock, 8:05 start. Nashville at Dallas. Dallas opens up minus 130. 50-50 split on the bets. Some sharper, heavier money coming in on Nashville, about 59% of that. They go from plus 110 to now minus 107 at circa minus 112. I will be all over the Preds tonight.
I couldn't talk you off it. Right there with you. Hey, I talked about them not making the playoffs on this show about a month ago. Boy, do I look foolish. But hey, you can't hit all of them. And it's time to make some money back on them. And Dallas is due for some regression as far as their home stats. Did a show earlier, and Brian Leonard brought up the fact that their home road split was so different. And eventually that just has to catch up to you. And I agree. I think with the Predators coming to town, the price at home for Dallas has been extraordinarily different. And I can't believe I'm saying this because growing up or even over the past several years, Dallas has been a mecca of great defensive hockey. Not anymore. You know, they don't really take care of the puck. Would you agree with that?
100%.
And it's shocking. It's weird. I mean, they used to be a 3-1 team. Every game was like, you know what I mean? Like, even remember the days when Ben Bishop was their starting goaltender. Lights out, you know? Now it's like, it wouldn't shock me if we see a 5-4 game tonight for the Predators. Really wouldn't.
I would not be doing my job if listen, I wouldn't keep you for another 3 hours, trust me, but I know I can't do that. We blink and we're 45 minutes in, and it's just amazing how quick these Wednesdays go. Listen, the stage is yours. I've had the caller on, of course, the whole 45 minutes here. Listen, follow Andrew, obviously at McInnis Picks, at Wager Talk, at Sports Mayflower. Go over to YouTube and subscribe. It's free at Mayflower Sports. Andrew, the stage is yours. Tell them what you got today, this week, this month, whatever, wherever they can find all your work.
I appreciate it as always, Jeff. Great to be here. And Super Bowl's this Sunday. I said I like the game to be decided with a field goal. I like the over. I like some points in this one. I didn't talk about every prop I'm going to be on. Last year, I went 6-2 in the Super Bowl. The two losses actually were decided in total. I dominated with the prop market, and I'm looking hopefully to do that again this weekend again. So I'm going to have a prop package up later this afternoon with a full list of my props, and anything else that gets added to that list will be sent out to your email as well. Also wanted to mention we've got our Puck Time website. It's launching very soon. It'll be shoppucktime.com. We got some merch, we got some phone cases, some t-shirts, and all that fun stuff, and looking forward to it. Also, I want to formally invite you, Jeff, to our to be a part of the meet and greet with us at the Westgate. It's going to be Saturday, March the 19th, I believe. We're going to have that. All kinds of people are going to come by. We're going to have some drinks. We're going to be giving away some clothing and hang out with other handicappers and people that follow the show and stuff. So I hope you're not busy that day and you can join me.
Well, I will tell you this. Yesterday morning, I sewed up my itinerary. I will be landing on that Tuesday, the 15th. So I will be staying in Vegas from the 15th all the way. I'm booked until April 1st, but I'll be flying back on the 31st on the red eye. So you know damn well I will be at the Westgate
Awesome.
with you. So,
awesome. Look
on
forward
that
to it.
Saturday, you can mark that in the calendar. I can't wait to finally break bread. When do you land?
Early in the morning on the Thursday, the 17th.
All right. Well, you got a couple days. You can't you can't run and hide on me in Vegas if you're gonna be in there Thursday.
No. There won't be. I'd say you got to catch me probably before 5 o'clock though, because I'll probably be having it'll be 5 o'clock somewhere, and my boys and I, we've said to each other we can't get too crazy on the drinks and too early in the afternoon. So, and if not, hey, I'll be inviting you out to a night at the nightclubs with us. I have no problem with that. We'll be keeping you out. You won't be getting up early the next morning then.
I was just gonna say I'm usually decompressing with my to-go bag to get back to my room at 7:38 so I can get into, maybe 9:30, 10. So I'm up at 5 a.m. because I can gladly be knocking on you guys' door around 4:45 a.m. if you guys need wake-up calls. That's not a problem.
I might need a call to tell me to go home. Not a wake-up call, a go home call. And the funny thing is, actually, we're going to be recording Puck Time at 8 a.m. local time on Friday morning. And my first night there, we're going to a Golden Knights game and a couple other things planned. So that'll be fun in its own, getting up at 7 a.m. there in Vegas time, and we'll see what happens. But hey, 7 a.m. there is like 11 o'clock in the morning my time, so not that
there
bad.
you go. That always makes you feel better. As I'm trying to do some remote shows and I'm catching back with Scott in Florida, I'm looking and I'm like, it's 7 o'clock here, not a problem. I'm like, holy shit, it's 10 o'clock back there. You got to run and you got to get everything set up. So listen, an amazing show as always. The one, the only, Mr. Andrew McInnis. Catch him everywhere on social media. You guys, if you're a Puck fan, if you're someone asking for information, reach out to him. Believe it or not, he responds back. Unlike some of these other people with the blue check marks that we will not talk about today or on those big platforms. So from myself, Jeff Dawson, from Andrew McInnis, we wish everyone a blessed day. And always remember this: wager and invest responsibly. If you have a problem, pick up the phone. There's an 800 number available for you. Ask for help. Why? Because we care. We'd like to see you here today, tomorrow, next week, next month, through 2022 and beyond. For myself, Jeff Dawson, and Andrew McInnis, we wish everyone a great day, a better night. Cash those tickets, and we will see you later today.